What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another replay cast here on HeroesHearth Warcraft 3. My name is Kendric, and it's my pleasure to take you through this match between LongWalk and Spiral. And these two players are really hot. They're looking good, in my opinion. It took place during the in-game master tournament that took place a couple of months ago, actually. At this point, it was presented by Calder, and there was a couple of fine matches happening, which is another reason why we're bringing you this replay, taking place on Concealed Hill. One of my favorite maps to watch, cast, and play, by the way, because I think it offers so much variety. You have strong creep camps here in the middle, on the right-hand side near the healing fountains as well, and it makes for really interesting matches. Oftentimes we see 2 base versus 2 base, sometimes even 3 base potential with that crazy dangerous ogre spot here in the middle. So lots of different variety to be seen here, especially in this matchup, Orc versus Night Elf. We have Spiral, of course, coming in heavily as the favorite, I would say. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to become a Fight Night champion here in HeroesHearth a couple of weeks ago against Neutron. An epic series nonetheless, guys. But this guy, I mean, he qualified to the playoffs, W League Europe. One of the most interesting and up-and-coming Orc superstars in Europe that we have. So keep an eye out for Spiral whenever you see that name pop up. His opponent, LongWalk, might be an alternate ID of a player that I am familiar with, because with this ID, with this nickname LongWalk, I'm not too familiar. If you know who that player is, feel free to let me know in the comments section down below and enlighten me. I would love to know. For now, though, we're going to, address him with his current ID that's being shown, LongWalk. If it's a different player, once again, I apologize. But that's what happens to you when you don't use your real ID. So, we had Hitman, by the way, one of our former champions of the HeroesHearth Fight Night, who never, ever used his real ID Hitman until we really told him to do so, because it was getting confusing for some people who would like to watch the VOD, or who didn't really get it from the start, and they would just tune in and someone is called Lunique, and they were like, what the hell is going on here? Anyways, guys, we see LongWalk on the Night Elf side start with an AoE, AOW creep, pretty standard stuff here. You can sometimes go for a quick Goblin turret if you want to do that. You can also go for a fast expansion, although fast expansions for Night Elves in particular, they haven't really been as meta anymore, or at least to the point where you can't call them fast expansions anymore, because quite the opposite is the case. They usually come in after 5 to 10 minutes and not immediately the first thing to do when the Keeper goes out. That's of course because the Keeper was nerfed several times. That's of course because Night Elves were nerfed in general when they, ever since they showed up in 1.30 with freaking dominance. That was really hard to tackle for other races. Oh, we see a nice healing self-interrupt here from the Treant. Really good reactions by LongWalk here. Speaking of which, the Blade Master, of course, sold the TP, as Blade Masters like to do very early. So much, because that gives them more resources to buy healing salves, to buy clarity potions if so needed. In the meantime, we see LongWalk with nice stutter stepping, catches a grunt, has to invest 2 entangles though. That's the power of an early level 2 keeper. That's why you want to spend a lot of time creeping, because it allows you to get those units if the other player is not paying attention. Here's the Blade Masters, though, can maybe apply some pressure. Items so far, pretty straightforward. A Circle of Nobility, that's it. Plenty of healing and a Scroll of Speed. The Keeper on the other side, he has a couple of nice items already. The Circlet is cool. The Slippers of Agility, not so much. Could potentially save that item for a second hero, Demon Hunter, if he wanted to go that route, of course. Demon Hunter second has been a thing. We've seen it on Fight Night here on HeroesHearth quite a bit. Neutron like to run it, and so do other Night Elves, to be honest. Sonic, just to mention one of them. Now we see a little bit of a skirmish going down near the Murlocs. Double net, actually, pretty vicious. Prevents units from going stealth mode using Shadow Meld. When you're ensnared, you do activate Shadow Meld, but you only become invisible once the ensnare duration is over. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Here we see the Ancient of War, by the way. Not an expansion. I thought it was a Tree of Life, but just another Ancient of War getting scouted immediately, though, by those grunts who are applying some soft pressure on it. Now the Huntresses, though, they have seen them, and when you see those Huntresses charge at you, you can almost guaranteedly expect that the Keeper is not too far either. And the grunts, they're piecing out immediately. Spiral basically gives the retreat command here. The Blade Masters, though, is trying to finish the job that the grunts started, and he's trying to take down that AOW. And honestly, without Wisp Repair, that should be a walk in the park. Superior damage from the Blade Master coming through. Of course, the grunts paved the way for that. And if Night Elves want to go for this mass tier 1 style where they just pump out archers and huntresses, or just one of them, I mean, this is a pretty big deal, you know, only being able to produce out of one production facility. Not too bad. Speaking of which, though, oh, was the grunt actually denied? I think it was. Good reaction by Spiral here. Really cool to see that. And I think that's what players in general have just become so good at, you know, denying units, sometimes denying heroes even when there's a poison effect on them that would kill them. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. Anyways, the Blade Master is currently fully dedicated to driving the Keeper away, and we see what sneaky LongWalk has been doing all this time, you know, building a very hidden Ancient Protector, munching his way through this forest, so now he has exclusive access to this. Very hard to tackle it, because without a Demolisher, you cannot really have access to this Ancient Protector because there's a small choke. The Huntresses are fast units, so they can block it. So I love the immediate reaction of Spiral, though. I think this is not even an all-in by LongWalk, sorry. Time Walker is a different thing in World of Warcraft, of course. But yeah, I don't think this is an all-in necessarily. There's no follow-up wisps here. There's no additional Ancients coming through to apply additional damage. So this might just be a distraction, you know, to buy more time for more Huntresses and stuff like that. Maybe even building an expansion behind it. There we go. There's the Tree of Life. LongWalk having a very nicely laid out strategy to deal with this. This is a whole new way of creating space, you know, and buying time to let your expansion go through. The Ancient Protector, of course, very nicely took a tree into his mouth and keeps healing. We'll have to do the same thing, rinse and repeat, if he doesn't want to fall. You know, a little bit of distraction, a little bit of gentle pressure here. And that, of course, not only gives time and space to this expansion to go up, but also, of course, while LongWalk has perfect vision of the Orc player, of Spiral, and contains him in his own base, he can take more dangerous, more risky creep camps on the map, such as the Goblin Shop here. What did he buy? Bought a Telestaff out there, but nothing else really. Keeper, level 3, around the corner. And Spiral has broken through this, of course. Just a question of time, you know, when you have 1 or 2 Demolishers, you can handle with that building pressure quite nicely. But look at LongWalk's map awareness here. Immediately knowing what's going on here. Just assuming that the Orc player, after breaking the Ancient Protector, would go to the nearest close-by creep camp here. And, you know, catches a little bit of XP there. Some of those small turtles went over to the Night Elf player, and that is a level 3 Keeper of the Grove with the Entangle level 2. Very cool to see that. I mean, Entangle level 2 is great to catch units out on the field, to intercept reinforcements when they come in from your opponent's base. A very disruptive playstyle, but also great, of course, with Mass Huntresses, which he seems to be relying upon now. Only now does the Tier 2 tech come through. We have 2 AOWs in here. We have an Ancient of Wonders coming through now for items and such. And yet, the more Huntresses you have, the stronger the Entangle can be because of focus fire from all your mass tier 1 units. And now we see the natural expansion spot being crept by LongWalk. This expansion is definitely going to go up. I don't think Spiral has the manpower needed to interrupt this, nor does he have the quantity of units just yet. So he's building up those Shamans. Shamans, of course, a very meta response to the Keeper style from the Night Elves. Can use Perch to not only get rid of Treants, but also Entangle if needed. And then we see the solo creeping on the Shadow Hunters. Shadow Hunters, we mentioned this time and time before, the backbone of many Orcish armies when they face the Keeper style, you know, with healing waves, with Serpent Wards against the Mass Huntresses. He is really the shining superstar in the Orc army that needs to be protected, but most importantly also leveled up to level 3, level 4, when those level 2 Snake Serpents come in. Serpent Wards come in. I mean, that's really what you want and what you need. Do we have a TP here, though? I don't think we have a TP, so Spiral, he is committed to this fight. Lightning Shield onto the Blade Master. He's surrounded by Huntresses. Tries to deal as much damage as possible. The Serpent Wards are up and ready. Healing coming through. There was a healing scroll, actually, as well, on the side of the Orcish player. Hasn't used it yet. The units are actually doing a fantastic job of staying alive right now. Great micro. Huntresses are falling. The grunts are so low. The healing scroll, where is it, though? Hasn't been used yet. Saves it for the very last moment. A very dramatic fight here by Spiral. Currently outnumbered, or at least he was outnumbered when the fight started, but somehow he held with great lightning shields and great purges when it was needed. There goes another purge onto the Alchemist, second hero of the Night Elves, now in a sticky situation. The TP has been transferred though by LongWalk, and he TPs to safety. Very nicely done by both players. The Night Elves certainly thought this fight would go differently when you had so many Huntresses, when you have the Orc trapped in a corner where they cannot run away, where they cannot TP out without a scroll. Entangle and trees were not enough, though, to swing the momentum in the Night Elves player. It is the Orc player who reigns supreme and is now going for a counter-strike. With one Demolisher that he had previously built, of course, remember, to deal with this Ancient Protector. Now, a pretty good siege weapon, of course, to deal with other structures on the map. Preferably this expansion here. Nice Lightning Shield once again by Spiral, really dealing additional damage onto those repairing Wisp Spear. Now needs to protect the Demolisher, though, who's getting dangerously focused by those Huntresses. Speaking of focus fire, save the Shamans in the back. They're such important units. Another big Lightning Shield here on the Entangled Blade Master. Needs to dispel it, though, all the same, because of Entangle dealing quite a lot of damage onto the Orcish heroes. Now, the healing scroll has been used, doesn't have that one available anymore. The mana on the Shadow Hunter also looks a little bit dire, so this is going to be a very tricky moment here. No more mana. The Wisps, of course, had detonated before, and that is the Blade Master kill. Level 4 for Califax, the Keeper of the Grove. Can he go for the retaliation blow, though, onto the Night Elf? Purge after Purge is coming through, and the Alchemist is going to fall here to the Axe of the Grunt. One hero versus one hero, a level 3 Shadow Hunter, albeit without mana. And a Shadow Hunter without mana, not all that useful. And look at this expansion, it's still standing. The Wisp Repair was immaculate so far, but the Orc units are now outnumbering the ones of the Night Elves here. More Wisps are being pulled. Level 4, that means level 2 Snake Serpent Wards here on the Shadow Hunter's side. And these things, they don't cost a lot of mana. He should have enough to actually cast a couple more. Another Lightning Shield coming through into that poor Wisp line. They're all running away, crying out for help, crying out for their dear savior, which is nowhere to be found, though. Speaking of things, the Keeper might finally do what is the saving grace. Or is it? It could have been the saving grace to save this expansion once and for good, but the Shadow Hunter keeps running away like an elusive man. He is nowhere to be found right now, but I think at this point LongWalk has stabilized. I think he's stabilized, guys, hasn't he? He has got more Wisps to reinforce this. The Shadow Hunter came back, by the way, all the way to the shop that he'd built previously in here with a healing pot, with some additional mana, and all of a sudden, with the additional help of the second hero of the Orcs, it's a whole different story. Needs to protect this Demolisher, though. Of course, Spiral can't have his fingers everywhere. Or can he? No peons here to save this. The Treants are slow-walking units. I don't think they even can catch up to this Demolisher, so it's a great distraction right here. Another Voodoo Launch, by the way. Let's make a Voodoo Launch chain, everybody. And this really shows you how important the immediate regeneration and mana replenishment can be for an Orc player. A tower now coming through. This is a siege. And if you thought this was over yet, you were proven mightily wrong, just like I was, because this is going nowhere. Right now, the body blocks are so sick. The Alchemist coming back with a Staff of Preservation keeps the first hero safe and sound for now, though. No more ranged units available, so I think this Shadow Hunter, if he plays carefully, should be able to regenerate quite the handful here. And look at the Shamans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Shamans coming through. All the Dispel in the world, all the Lightning Shields in here. Great decision, actually. You know what? Because there's barely any Huntresses left anymore, so it's only heroes, and the Night Elf would basically love to have some additional Treants in there, you know, to have some additional Entangles to keep those Orc units at bay. But, I mean, Spiral's having none of it. He loses one Shaman, finally, but at what cost? Crit after crit is coming through. A last-second stuff to safety here coming in from the Keeper of the Grove. But the Blade Master is back, and he's having none of it. The tower at this point will go through. It is a GG! And with what seemed like an impossible thing to hold for Spiral, he made it work nonetheless. We told you guys how strong of a player he was, how promising his Orcish talent shines through sometimes, and I think this game proves it all. Holding into the choke point without a TP against a Night Elf with superior Huntress's numbers. We saw strong Entangles coming through, but it was all in vain eventually, because with that Shaman, Shadow Hunter, Voodoo Launch, counterattack, Spiral really showed LongWalk how it's done properly. So yeah, that was an amazing game. I think a lot of cool micro decisions were made in this game, like building those double Voodoo Launches. Super sick lightning shields as well. Great stuff coming in from Spiral. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this replay as much as I did. And if you did, feel free to hit us up with a subscription here on this YouTube channel because there's much more Warcraft 3 related content to come. And of course, Warcraft Reforged will be a big deal as well once it's live and ready for action. My name is Kendric. Thank you very much for watching and hope to see you on the next show. Until then, see you later.